June 17, 2025, Sirens slice through Tel Aviv's silence like a blade. Two ballistic missiles launched from Houthi-held Yemen heading north. Jaffa's windows trembled, Israel's heart under fire once again. High above U.S. jets held position, armed, silent, and watching. The ceasefire held on paper but not in the skies. Every signal tracked each one, a potential spark for war. Commanders weighed their options: speak up or stand down. Israel didn't wait, retaliation thundered back through the night. Targets deep in Yemen burned before the sun could rise. For American pilots above the Red Sea, silence was an order. One more launch and restraint would end. Power moves in silence, ready but unseen. Even silence can sound like permission. The Middle East holds its breath, waiting for the next shadow to move. Was this a warning or the first spark of a new Middle East war? Across carrier decks, crews rearmed in silence, every bolt a signal of readiness. In Qatar, flight lines glowed as engines hummed in standby. In the sky, an invisible web linked Israel and America, eyes shared, targets synced. Every radar ping, every coded call redrew the map of tension. At dawn, Tel Aviv's skyline smoldered, proof that peace was just a word. U.S. pilots trained every second, rehearsed for a fight they hoped never came. But one word from command and restraint becomes retaliation. Israel's Iron Dome glowed, each light a heartbeat of defense. From the Mediterranean to the Gulf, every radar watched, every hand waited. The Red Sea, once a trade route, now a floating line of fire. Each carrier deck its silence louder than gunfire. The Houthi move was clever, a legal loophole wrapped in danger. They didn't break the deal, they exploited it. A loophole becomes a match, and the region a fuel tank. The silence was gone, what remained was decision. By dawn, the truce had become a chessboard, every move watched, every silence calculated. U.S. command realigned, defensive watch turned into readiness orders. In Djibouti, quick response jets stood, fueled, silent, engines humming. Pilots briefed, words calm, eyes sharp. Every line on the radar, one heartbeat closer to ignition. Israel's response grew sharper. Precision now replaced restraint. The Houthis had thrown a stone at a storm. Every explosion carried a message, loud, clear, and deliberate. But for every strike, the question returned: how far could this go? Commanders called it deterrence. The world called it waiting. In Tehran, lights burned late. The architects watched in silence. Intelligence called it a signal, a warning dressed as a whisper. In the Red Sea, shadows moved metal wings over water. One mistake and the silence would turn to fire. The question was no longer if, but when. At 0400 hours, silence broke. The first response took flight. The Red Sea shimmered, now a runway for vengeance. In Sana'a, the radar blinked too late. The retaliation wasn't symbolic, it was surgical. Fuel depots, command nodes, and launch pads each lit the night anew. For pilots, the line between observer and warrior vanished. Smoke curled over the horizon, a signature that needed no translation. In Washington, silence meant consent, and consent meant escalation. The ceasefire was now a ghost, its echo lost in static. Above the Red Sea, drones painted targets, circling, calculating, unseen. Each locked target, a decision waiting to be made. Each commander waited for the same word: engage. Somewhere between orders and hesitation, wars are born. The missiles were ready. The question was, are we? The dawn of June 18th felt heavier than any morning before. The order came, two words that echoed through the Red Sea sky. Missiles streaked from wings, precision turned to flame. Below, Houthi batteries scrambled, too late to hide, too late to run. From 2,000 feet, the world below burned in silence. Israel's strike package moved in, guided by American eyes. Each impact erased a launch site, each flash a warning to others. In the chaos, one question echoed in every cockpit: did we just start a war? The Houthis fired back, wild, desperate, defiant. For the first time, American and Israeli jets flew side by side in combat. Each maneuver, each flare, a dialogue written in light and smoke. Every flare lit the same truth: peace was now a memory. Satellite feeds showed what the world didn't want to see: impact zones alive with fire. Tehran called it provocation. Washington called it defense. The Red Sea was no longer neutral, it was a battlefield. And as the sun rose, the ceasefire's ashes fell into the sea. The missiles had fallen, but the echo stayed. The Red Sea turned quiet again, but the quiet was heavier than before. Washington called for calm. Tehran called for unity. Every government redefined silence, each in its own way. In secret intelligence, links came alive, satellites whispering what words could not. From Moscow to Riyadh, eyes turned to the Red Sea. Markets dipped. Oil climbed. The world recalculated risk. In Tel Aviv, people woke under a sky they no longer trusted. In Yemen, a father searched the rubble looking for a child's toy. At sea, American destroyers held their line, visible, ready, deliberate. No official war declared, but every pilot knew the truth. The world asked who fired first and who would fire next. Between diplomacy and defiance, the next move was already in motion. History doesn't warn, it whispers until it's too late. And so, as the Red Sea glowed once more, the world held its breath again. When the guns went quiet, the code began to speak. Firewalls became fortresses, hackers the new artillery. Across the Middle East, screens flickered, power grids blinked, systems froze. No missiles this time, just code precise and silent. Servers melted under digital fire. Banks blinked out of existence. In Tel Aviv, the stock exchange froze. In Sana'a, silence fell on radio waves. Cyber weapons had no borders and no mercy. In underground bunkers, analysts traced invisible fingerprints. One signature stood out, a code seen before in another war. Old algorithms reborn with new intent. Information became weapon. Truth became terrain. Hackers called it justice. Governments called it chaos. Digital borders collapsed. Nations blurred into networks. The invisible war had no victors, only survivors. And in the glow of a single monitor, the next war waited to log in. Days later, the smoke cleared, but the questions didn't. Borders stayed where they were, but the balance had moved. For every blast that fades, another kind of noise begins. War never truly ends, it just changes its language. Every silence hides a storm, every truce a countdown. From the Red Sea to the cyber grid, conflict has gone everywhere we are. But power never sleeps, and silence never lasts. Because when silence breaks again, it never whispers. This is the story of June 2025. And it's not over yet. In a world of data distance and fire, the hardest truth remains the simplest: we are all within range.